What makes a popular guy/girl lose popularity? A popular guy burst into tears in class while discussing a recent tragedy because someone close to him died and told about the tragedy. Then, for a short time while he was studying at the school, he was mercilessly bullied. He was a good kid who didn't deserve anything like this. Sometimes I really hate high school students. A popular girl got behind the wheel drunk on her way to school and caused a serious accident involving 3 other cars. She spilled alcohol on herself and braked sharply in front of a row of parked cars. There wasn't a scratch on her car. Before the police arrived a few minutes later, she swapped seats with the passengers in front of everyone. We realized that she had disappeared. She slipped into another car, which stopped to check if everything was okay. Some people ended up with tickets, and her passengers got a criminal record for drunk driving. She was unpopular until she graduated from high school. The child shot a video for a school project in which he performed in front of the class. The video of the project was finished and edited so that he beat himself up. He was a freshman. For the rest of his life, he was known only as a photographer. She got pregnant and had to stop cheerleading. The footballer no longer wanted her, and her popularity began to grow rapidly. Besides, the other girls were very judgmental. One popular HS girl got so drunk at a party that she started shitting all over the place. Her friends drove her home, and she did it again in the back seat. It was easy to remember, but it was one of those things that no one would say anything about. It's just that by Monday evening the whole school knew about it. At that time, I went to the same school as the children of the Prime Minister of my country. I didn't know my daughter very well, but apparently when her father lost the election, it was very sad that people started hating her for things she couldn't control, from popularity to being kicked out of school. When the children of a country's leader are in school, opportunists try to trick them when that name no longer matters. They leave them alone. It's a sad cycle. He whipped Don during class and put him on the shoulder of the girl who was sitting at the desk in front of him. He was immediately kicked out and, in my opinion, he was charged with sexual assault. It was a few weeks after we graduated from high school too. It's crazy to think about such accusations of sexual assault. This is as it should be, but many other stories in this thread mention people who know that someone is guilty of full-scale rape, and who literally did nothing. The guy wasn't very popular initially, but he was well known. At the concert, he punched my classmate in the face for no reason. Soon after, news broke that he had accelerated his brand new Camaro to a speed of 95 by 45 degrees. This caused a lot of injuries to him and another guy from our school. His friend lost his entire ear in an accident. It happened right after Kroger's beer was stolen. Anyway, they were drunk at the wheel. After that, people began to keep their distance. Another child comes to mind, who was very popular in our school year. One of my friends came to his house and used his computer without his permission. As a result, my friend found terabytes of information about Child P on his computer. As far as I've heard, the FBI was also involved in this. After that, he was never seen at school again. How did you manage to find several terabytes of information in such a short time? Kid, a very popular man who was a freshman in high school, played for the WR national team. One day we were all leaving the classroom, and he accidentally decided that it was a good idea to make fun of a beloved invalid who was dying in such a state. Some kind of advanced form of wateriness in the brain, if I remember correctly. And even decided to beat him up. It knocked the poor kid off his feet. About 10 guys quickly jumped over it. The teacher in the store looked at me Let it go on for another minute before he takes action and stops everything. Mr. Popularity screwed up a lot because of this short break. Leaving the team, being expelled and moving to another school, I suppose, was a way to start over at a new school. I never heard from him again. 5 minutes after the rally, King went to degenerate exiles. I was one of the 50-odd people who sat in the front row and testified to the school administrator. The victim died of this ailment later that academic year. I rarely heard him speak, but when he spoke, he was always kind and caring. It's just sad. He was in my class. We were high school students, and it was the last days of school. He and several of his peers, who were popular but not nearly as much, decided to smash up the school at night. They spray-painted sinuses and stuff all over the outside. They also sprayed the large front door with the inscription, "I could have done worse." Well, they were caught. They were punished. None of them graduated from high school. They all had to retake the year. Everyone thought they were idiots back then. According to one of my friends who was in junior high, many people told them in passing, "I could have done better." I think the fact that they put "I could" instead of "I could have" is what I'm thinking about. He was new, but thanks to his looks, the wealth of his parents and athletic inclinations, he quickly gained popularity. Then he made the mistake of getting into the spectrum and bullying a harmless kid who, in fact, was the mascot of the football team. They reacted to this unkindly, and he turned from a big shot into a child with whom no one wants to talk. And he basically had to bribe people to keep them. He teased the father of several girls who died of a drug overdose. Other popular guys expressed their opinion to him about how cool it was, and he lost all his popularity. I like that several popular children's lawyers have revoked his membership. The guy bragged for a whole week that he slept like 3 girls at school. He slept like 3 girls. It turned out that 2 of them got pregnant. It was real bad luck. But that didn't make him unpopular. What made it unpopular was that one of the pregnant girls was known as an innocent religious girl, and her friends, who really wanted to wait for the wedding before having sex, began to wonder why she suddenly changed her standards. It turned out that she had been raped. She was raped and, strangely enough, abandoned, instead of asking for help or warning adults. Everyone just asked her to leave. Not the tough guy who dumped her. I found out what really happened a few years later. Unfortunately, the poor girl. When I was in the 6th grade, one of my classmates took me to a school built in the 90s. After school, they were going to go shopping. She was the most popular girl in the class. At some point during the day, the money disappeared. Our teacher left our classroom for the principal's office across the street. It was a very small school, with only 12 children enrolled from kindergarten to grade 212. After a few minutes, we were all taken out of the classroom and divided into boys and girls. The 5th grade teacher took the girls to 3 toilets at the same time, searched and undressed them, and the principal took care of all our boys. I didn't take the money, but I climbed into the stall, locked it and refused to come out. I was in serious trouble that day, and no one on this planet had to get in my pants. In the end, he gave up and let me go. A few hours later, the cops showed up and questioned us all in turn. A few weeks later, it turned out that she had forgotten to bring the money to school, and they had been lying at home in her bedroom all this time. Despite the fact that we are in a rural area and the nearest school is 30 miles away, the negative reaction was so strong that her parents took her out of school and sent her to a nearby town. Looking back, we can say that people were alarmed, and our anger against her was in vain compared to the mountain of lawsuits that should have fallen on the director. I was a popular girl. I was in the second grade of high school with full-fledged schizophrenia, and its development was comparable to Hollywood movies. By the time I graduated from high school, everyone knew me as a weird, crazy witch girl who talked to herself and had no friends. Now I've graduated from high school, I'm on medication consistently, and I'm around people who love me, and since then I haven't thought about popularity. Life is wonderful. I am glad and proud that you have become a better person. Congratulations. I wish you all the best in the future. Mental health problems. It was when I was in elementary school. She peed herself at recess, and then her mom came to school with a change of clothes, but she was furious about what happened. Everyone heard her give her a good spanking in the bathroom. Then she put on a diaper. I think she wet the bed quite often. I'm sure her mom intentionally humiliated her as punishment for spoiling her. It was in the 80s in rural Alabama. Everything was different there and is still different. Ironically, mom was probably the root of the problem, or at least made it worse. Bedwetting in underpants is often the cause of bedwetting in school children, who should have already learned how to use the toilet, and is often a symptom of some disorders. It is also very often possible that this is a health problem, because of which she needs to see a urologist. They gave way to a kind, responsive, and sweet girl with a very sunny and positive atmosphere. Suddenly, everyone was around her, not around the popular child bully. In general, the students finally saw what they really needed. In our school, everything is as it has always been. Thank God. Everyone admires its good atmosphere. Actually, it's a little sad, but the guy I knew was recognized as the athlete of the century at our school. He was great at football, athletics, rugby and wrestling. But I didn't play hockey, where I am now. It was important. But everyone loved this guy because he almost single-handedly won the championship of our province. I hate to say this, but he was also one of 2 black students at our school, so he really had to overcome some of the prejudices of the locals, because it's a small rural community. But then he suffered a severe leg injury that ended his career. So when he stopped playing sports, people forgot about him. That was 12 years ago, and I actually saw him a few months ago. He's doing well. I was 2 years younger, and he was always kind to me. Even sadder, his brother, another great athlete, committed suicide last year. He didn't go to our school, and I didn't know him. This is the first story I've read on this topic, and the popular athlete wasn't a complete layman, but a nice guy who was just unlucky. It's nice to hear that he's doing well. She was a little bee and very colorful, but the dim room was a dark room. If people see what she really is, that's it. Using her appearance to achieve what she wanted, Hissy, whom I met about 10 years after graduation, became a completely different person, and as soon as she did not achieve this, people immediately lost interest in her. In fact, she is humble and kind. In fact, she is much smarter than she seemed. I do not know what she is doing right now. It's nice to hear when people completely change their character. We found out that he dodged the dog. He told us that the dog licked him when he was spreading peanut butter in a donut. I didn't see him right away. For a moment, it seemed to him that he had thrown a duck at her dog. There was a rumor that a man had raped his girlfriend, and all his popular friends were trying to protect him. It's still weird because it happened quite recently, and people either hate him or say he made a mistake. There was another man who was more famous than popular, and he was accused of raping a 12-year-old teenager. If they are released from any meaningful punishment for this, it is not a mistake. But the worst one is the one who protects it. The very definition of corruption. There is a new student at our school, whom we would call Alex for the purposes of this story. He was athletic, funny, cute, etc. He quickly found a common language with the popular guys and got along with almost everyone. A school in a small town. We had kids with special needs in our school year, but I'll call Josh. Everyone loved Josh like a brother, and we all took great care of him. One day, about a week after Alex started school, he was teasing Josh in the yard, and Josh was very upset. A few guys told him to stop, and Alex got mad, so he pushed Josh. He was immediately attacked by some guys from the next class, and he beat him until the teacher arrived. Alex was detained for 2 weeks, and those who attacked him were detained for a week. When he returned, he was practically shunned. No one talked to him unless it was about studying. During physical education class, people did their best to exclude him. A few weeks after that, he transferred to another school. Looking back, I realized that he was treated really harshly, but I thought he deserved it. I was part of that crowd, and God had a lot of drama. After it turned out that she had slept with the boyfriend of another really beloved girl, one of the girls became almost obsessed with our school year, and they were a couple in the IT field. She was often condemned for this. Although somehow this person avoided it without much trouble. I almost felt sorry for her, but I didn't, so last year she brought the Spanish teacher to tears with her rudeness, and later that year she caught her cheating on her biography, and pressured this really smart girl to give an answer. Felt sorry for her because of her, but I didn't do it. She wasn't exactly a good person. It's still terrible that this man managed to escape. He pointed a gun at several football players who tried to rape a high school girl. As a result, the football player went to prison. Students, teachers, and parents made his life a living hell because he robbed the school of a chance to get to the state football championship. It wasn't him who ruined everything, but the other kids. Nothing dramatic, but they graduated from high school and didn't become little nobodies there after that. This kid's name was Matt, and he spent grades 1 through 12 enjoying his brother's fame. His older comrades were very charismatic and aggressive. A big sports fan, the president of the school board, a graduate, an excellent student, whatever you want. Matt was just a little boy and enjoyed everyone's attention and popularity with teachers and students for who his brother was. When he entered the local university and realized that no one knew him or paid attention to him, it hurt him a lot. On May 6th, he graduated from high school with honors and received a huge number of awards and scholarships. By the end of the 9th month of study, just 3 weeks after entering college, I saw him in biology class. All the programs seemed necessary for typical first-grade general biology lessons. He was one of 500 students in a large auditorium. Sitting in the back seat, I tried to make fun of the professor, randomly shouting comments and funny jokes because he was there with a friend. That shit that people could giggle at and comment on you is so cool. You're so funny in elementary school. Well, it didn't work out here. Instead of attention, all he got was an evil look that everyone ignored. His whole world collapsed. He hardly worried about the lack of attention and popularity. 6 weeks before entering college, he dropped out of school. A few years later, my friend and I ran into him in a bowling alley. He was unrecognizable because of his thinness and athletic build. He seemed to have gained 50 pounds, he had a huge beard, and he was married to 2 children, each of whom had different mothers. The whole world was in the palm of his hand, and then reality took his life. Here's my story. When I was in 5th grade, I moved and changed schools, from a school in the city, where everyone was good friends, to a school in the suburbs, where I first met popular and unpopular people. Because I was a fat and quiet child, I was immediately considered unpopular, and I received a fair share of insults. After about 3 or 4 months, the teacher moved the desk and placed everything in the room except for 2, 4 or 5 desks. The most popular boy in school, who was a troublemaker in the classroom, and I, who moved our desk right to her. I later found out that she did it for 2 reasons. 1. To keep an eye on him, and 2. She felt that I was a good influence on him. From then until graduation, something interesting happened. We became best friends, and I became the second most popular kid at school. I started being invited to birthday parties. The kids stopped being cheeky with me. At lunchtime, I was invited to play football. The girl liked me. It was great. And then summer happened. The next year, we moved to another class. He forgot about me. Then he left, and everyone started treating me like shit again. This is my little story about losing popularity. Dan, I'm sorry to hear that. I also moved from 4th to 5th grade, and going as a freshman to a school where the kids know each other from 4th to 5th grade was very difficult, and I wasn't picked on. But when everyone else got to know each other so well, I definitely became very shy. But he has already lost a lot of popularity due to the fact that he once underwent state rehabilitation. The last straw was that he got into an accident and knocked down a girl to death before he managed to leave the road after undergoing compulsory rehabilitation while driving under the influence. I used to be friends with one guy, but everything went wrong with him, and eventually I found out that he was still in prison. Don't drink or drive, people. When you make that decision, it's not just your life that's at stake. He was popular with the people he interacted with. I don't think he was super popular or anything like that. Punk, Grontilor. All his popularity disappeared when he jumped out of the window of his car after crashing it into a building, because he was smearing paint and racing down the road with one of the popular girls of the group. Fortunately, she survived, but as far as I remember, he was not remembered with such warmth afterwards. He flew out of the car through the windshield. Brother, tall and handsome. International students showed off the year with a stunning smile and impressive football skills. I never thought that schoolgirls would giggle and follow boys in the crowd, as they do in TV series, but one day, after a few months, he suddenly stopped appearing. I'm not 100% sure what happened, but there were rumors that he was sent back for putting some pretty serious racist symbols in his poetry art project, and I thought it would be a funny joke. This person was such an obsessive liar that no one believed her words. Make a list quickly. After one of them told her friend that her boyfriend had sex with her, she spread rumors that she was pregnant and started wearing baggy clothes. The second one said that at that time he went to the Super Bowl in Texas, and returned to school the next morning. We live in Michigan. Third, she said she kissed Tom Brady at the Super Bowl. Fourthly, dramas and rumors started with everyone at school. There was such a girl at my school, and I, a 10-year-old teenager, thought that this justified some secrecy towards her. Now that I have become a parent, I really feel for this girl, and I have such a desire, and it is always obvious that every time it undermines her trust more and more. Sorry, members of the CW National Honor Society were caught cheating on the final exam. In their senior year, their father bribed the principal by giving them a car for school events that they were supposed to use on graduation day. All the other members of the National Health Service took off the rope before going up on stage and receiving their diploma. They were brother and sister. Let's call them Eric and Megan. Eric was in his senior year, and graduation was a few months away. He was an athlete, an idiot, and an absolute layman. Megan was in the 2nd grade. She was really charming. They were both very popular and moderately attractive. Their friends will point out how sexy their brother was, etc. For a number of reasons, the two filmed porn together and showed it to their friends. Anyway, they were surprised when it led to social ostracism. Megan would have been sent to live with her grandparents about 1,000 miles away. In the area where I grew up, this was not uncommon. In rural Vermont, homosexuality and incest are quite common, but no one wants to admit it. Besides, it was only a few years ago. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. Until then, we release new videos every day. Watch another video. Then goodbye.